June 13th, 2022. From El Cajon, California, this is episode 259 of You Can Bet on That. Hi, everybody. Welcome to You Can Bet on That, a podcast for the recreational gambler. My name is Mark Duvall, and sitting across from me is Dr. Mike.
Hello.
All right, we are back from Las Vegas, so we've got a lot to talk about. We'll start with my playing in the World Series of Poker.
Yep.
Then we'll talk about the trip in general, and we'll wrap it up with a discussion about your move to Minnesota, which is less than a week away here.
Yes.
We do have some voicemails, of course. I think we'll hold off on those until the next episode, just because I think we've got a lot to go through here today.
Yeah, I think we had a interesting trip.
Yes, I'd say overall a successful trip. Certainly we had a very good time.
Yeah, we had
a
great time.
Yeah. I'll just start off by saying that I did not cash in the World Series of Poker event, so I won't leave any suspense there. But let's talk about that. So we got there late on a Thursday night. We probably got there around midnight, something like that, right?
Yeah,
and
it's close to midnight.
Yeah. No problem checking in. So thanks to Vinny Chens, he had suggested that I register for the tournament at off hours. The registration area is open 24/7, but if you're trying to register close to a big event coming up, especially one of the lower limit, big no-limit hold'em tournaments, you might be in quite a line. So
yeah, there were long lines all throughout the week in there. The line never seemed to go down.
So I got in line about 1:30 a.m. There still was a line.
Yeah.
Not all the windows were open. So that was a lot of it was, there were only a few windows open. And I stood in line for about 5 minutes before one of the employees said, anybody with diamond or 7-star status? And I was like, oh, yeah. Oh, well, you can come over to this line. There were no signs.
Yeah.
I might have said like VIP, but I didn't know what that meant, right? So
right.
I got into a shorter line. So that was no problem. So registered again, $1,500 for the Omaha high-low limit tournament the next day. Started about 3 p.m. It was scheduled to go to about 2 a.m. and sat down and, it was automatically very exciting. You're in the big room like this. And so the first thing I noticed was that the play was the tightest I've ever seen for an Omaha 8 tournament. No surprise.
Well, when it started and your initial group of players, you were the youngest.
That's right. You were standing behind watching me.
I was like, Mark's the youngest on this table.
Yep. Obviously, a lot of seasoned veterans in the game.
Grizzly.
They knew about hand selection being so important. So a lot of folding before the flop. And one of the adjustments I had to make for that was, if the hand went to showdown, and it was a while before we even had the first hand go to showdown, but if the hand went to showdown, the hands were not as high as I'm used to playing, when I'm just playing with my friends.
Right.
Because the players are so much tighter.
Right.
At the end, it's like, oh, I got a pair of queens.
Right.
What? Really? You don't have a flush or a straight with everything out there? Right. And even the lows, unless it was like ace deuce, people were playing ace deuce. Sometimes, the lows, people would back, I've got 8-5 for low.
Yeah.
Okay, you'll get the low. So that was the one major adjustment that I had to make. I hope I did anyway. Also, a lot of pre-flop raising, at least in our home game, there's very little pre-flop raising.
Right.
Because it's not a tight game.
Right.
It's like, do I want to really build the pot at this point?
Right.
When everybody's
going to call. Right.
So a lot more pre-flop raising, and it's something that I don't normally do. And of course, I did in this situation whenever I had a hand that I thought was good. And there were a couple of times where everyone folded to me, and there was no flop, and I just picked up on that. So, but it was a very good game. I guess I'll say I'm very disappointed that I went out before the money.
Right.
I even went out before the end of day one.
But very close to the end of day one. It
was so day one ended at 2 a.m. I went out at about 1:15, 1:20. Yeah. I am happy with the way I played.
Yeah, you played
as
well.
A poker player, I'm more concerned about that, really.
Right.
Because if you feel that you didn't play very well, at least in my case, you just beat yourself up afterwards. You're thinking, why did I do that? Why did I do that?
Well, nobody laughed when you went out. That was a good sign. The room was silent. People were in awe. He's out, and no laughing, nothing. So.
I was probably the only WSOP virgin at my table, based on the talk that was going.
For sure.
But I don't think I gave that off.
Yeah.
I don't know. but I don't think I did because I wasn't, I wasn't making mistakes, and the discussions we were having. So hopefully I fooled them into not knowing that it was my first time. But I'll tell you how I went out. I had some good hands, but then my chips just started dwindling.
Well, the blinds go up, and you know you have to win some hands. You have to catch some cards.
Yep.
That's a given. Yeah. And no matter how good a player you are, if you don't catch hands at the right time, it's going to wear.
So I was pretty low. In fact, I've even tweeted out, it's like, oh, I'm on life support here. So I already had a low stack. I had 4 high cards, like 4 Broadway cards. So, I'm kind of hesitant to play those, but I'm running out of chips, and, it gives you an opportunity to scoop if there's only a high, for those familiar with Omaha, because usually I like to have an ace in my hand and at least have the ability to win both ways, high and low.
But that's what shoots you up, is that scooping a pot.
Oh, yeah. But I had high cards. Well, the flop came with an ace and 2 hearts, and I had the queen and jack of hearts, okay? So if I make my flush, it's not the nut flush.
Right.
But the critical thing is here, the ace of hearts is on the board.
Right.
And typically people are staying in with aces, yes, but not with, say, a suited king.
Right.
It can happen. But so I've got queen and jack of hearts, and there was a bet I raised, I got called, and then sure enough, the third heart for the board came out on the turn. And then I bet I got raised, and it's like, uh-oh.
Yeah,
there was a low out there, so it's like maybe he's raising for low. But generally, you don't necessarily raise when you have low because you could be quartered.
Right.
That can happen. And I thought, well, I'm too low right now. I may win this pot, I may get half the pot, but I have virtually no more chips. So I felt like I had to call, and sure enough, I did lose to a king 3 of hearts.
Yeah.
Right?
That's rough.
And then the hand after that, I had just a little bit more than the big blind, and I was the big blind. So of course I went all in. I don't even remember what happened there at the end, but I went out. So that's kind of how. So
you got quartered once, I believe, right?
I did get quartered once, right? And,
which is rough. I hate that.
That's again, this is a high-low game, and a lot of times on the low part, 2 or more people will have the exact same hand.
Right.
And so depending on how many people are left in the hand, you could actually lose money on the hand.
Yes.
Because you're only getting a quarter of a pot that maybe 3 people contributed to.
Right.
So that did happen to me, at least once. So if I'm second guessing myself at all, it is on that hand with the queen jack.
Yeah.
But
I wouldn't.
Yeah, I don't know.
What could you do? I mean, that's the way poker goes, right?
Yeah.
He very easily could have had a 10 and a 4 or something, right?
Well,
whatever.
And plus, since it's a high-low game, you don't necessarily know which way the other person's going.
He could have
right?
gone low.
There were 3 low cards
flush.
on the flop. Yeah. So anyway, send your criticisms to youcanbetonthat@gmail.com, and I'll take them with a grain of salt. But it was a lot of fun. I mean, this tournament was great. There were celebrities there, certainly there. Phil Hellmuth was in the tournament. He was a few tables over. Scott Seaver was 1 table over from me. Oh, I outlasted him.
Yeah.
I outlasted more than half the field.
Right.
So I can kind of take that away. But I also want to say I'm disappointed.
Yeah. Well, there was like 1,100 people, close to 1,100 people entered.
Yeah.
So, you're in the top half. That's pretty decent.
I know it is something, but honestly, I
know. Well, let me tell you this.
All right.
You didn't really want to win anyway. Well, you don't wear bracelets. I've known you for 40 years. I've never seen you wear a bracelet.
Other than just a watch, a wristband.
Yeah. You never wear bracelets. If they'd been giving away maybe a dishwasher or a washing machine as first prize with the money, that would have been more motivation
That
for
would
you.
be good. Oh, did you win a WSOP washing machine?
Yeah.
Well, where is it? Don't you carry it around? No, we use it to
in the
wash
back
clothes.
of my truck here.
Also, 2019 WSOP Player of the Year Rob Campbell was at my table. He's easy to spot because he's got an Australian accent. That's one of those things. But I'll tell you, he corrected me on a technicality. So this is a limit tournament, right? And at one point, the bet was 1,200 chips. And I didn't have 1,000 chip, so I threw in a 5,000 chip and 200 chips. Right, for 5,200. Thinking, and I'll get 4,000 change.
Back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, anybody who's familiar with poker knows that the fact that I added those $200
means
chips
you were raising
makes that a raise. If I had just thrown in the 5,000 and not said anything, that's a call.
That's a call.
Right. And it's so frustrating because I almost always verbalize my intentions.
Yeah.
You see me at the table, raise, fold. I do it before I make any action. For some reason, I didn't in this case. and I threw in $5,200. Well, the guy across from me kind of saw what I was doing. He made change for me real quick, and they just accepted it as a bet, just a bet.
That was nice.
And I'm still not registering that I've done something wrong.
Right.
The ironic thing is that I won the hand, and a raise would have been good for me. I would have made more money if I'd actually raised. So, but anyway, after the fact, Rob actually said, that was technically a raise that you made. At first, I didn't understand what he was saying. He said it was technically a raise. It's like, oh my gosh, you're right. I'm so used to our home game.
Right.
If I'd done that at the home game, it wouldn't be. And it's the reason I mentioned it too. It's a limit tournament. So I'm obviously not raising to $5,200, which would be the case if it had been a no-limit tournament.
Right.
That's a raise, and that's going to stick, right?
Right.
I'm obviously just calling the $1,200.
Yeah.
But technically, he's absolutely right. So I was glad that he actually called me out on that. Lesson learned at
Well, he texted you that he wasn't really calling you out.
Well, yes.
He didn't mean to.
What happened was I tweeted about it, and then he responded with a tweet saying, I wasn't really calling you out, just calling your attention to it. And I wrote him and I said, I completely understand. And thank you for saying something. I was actually glad he did say something. So, it was nice to get a response to that tweet that I put out there. One thing, I don't even think I told you about this, Mike. So at one point, the blinds were $1,500, $2,500. And about halfway through the round, the announcer came on and said, attention, Omaha 8 players and dealers. We should be at 1,000 2,500 blinds. 1,2,500. I think they changed it because that was the way it was printed on the original structure sheet.
Oh, okay.
And somebody caught it. Right? Because really, 1,500, 2,500 makes more sense
right.
than 1,000,
exactly.
2,500. But that was the way they printed. And yes, of course, I had just put in my small blind on the last hand at 1,500. And of course, they're not going to go back and
you should have turned to the person who won that hand, the previous hand, just yo me 500.
Should have done it.
Give me 500.
But I thought that was interesting, and I looked up at the board. You could actually see whoever was at the computer typing in 1,000 over 1,500. So. Again, this was my first World Series of Poker. Previously, or at least before this, I should say, it had taken place at Rio, right, which is off strip. The consensus amongst the players was this is a much better venue, just all around. One reason was because it wasn't quite as cold. You always hear about how cold it was at Rio. It's the middle of summer, but they've got that AC blasting.
Right.
This was actually very comfortable. I was in short sleeves and shorts, and it was
a
good,
perfect temperature. It wasn't hot in there. It wasn't cold.
Yeah, so I think overall people were saying, okay, this is a much better venue than Rio. One of the players was saying that ESPN is not quite as happy because, they could just pull their trucks up right at Rio and not have to deal with all that strip traffic and everything else.
Right.
So maybe they're struggling a little bit, but at least from a player, they seem to be.
Well, the one thing about the Rio that I always thought was weird is the players can't all be staying at Rio because they probably don't have enough rooms. So you have to come from somewhere. You have to get a cab to go over there or drive over there or whatever. On the strip, you could be staying over at Paris and just walk over.
Yeah.
For the players, it's just better located.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of fun to have on the strip. Now, Bally's is transitioning to Horseshoe, and I think their original intent was to have that already for this WSOP.
Right.
But we saw very little in the way of the transition.
Yeah, it was all pretty much Bally's still.
Yeah, there was going to be a Jack Binion steakhouse that they're installing there, and we saw the facade for that, but that wasn't open yet. Yeah, if you'd gone in, I didn't get any sense that they were changing, but maybe by next year.
If it had changed, they wouldn't have had Star Wars on the TVs.
Oh, God. Once again, at Bally's, we're walking by Star Wars. This time, I think it was episode 2.
Yeah, episode 2, yeah.
But no, not a sporting event. Star Wars in the casino on the
second time
monitor.
at Bally's. Whoever's in charge of that, there's probably one guy in charge of it, and he's just a huge Star Wars fan. And when it's like early in the morning, he's like, let's just have at least one TV with Star Wars on.
I want to see what happens. Yeah. Should we put the closed captioning on? No, I know what happens.
No.
Well, what you just said. Hey, I want to say thanks to Jim from New York for encouraging me to play. He was the one who originally on Twitter said, hey, you going to do this? Okay. I also want to thank Vinny Chens, Tim Lawson, and you, Dr. Mike, for buying a piece of me.
Yes.
Right? Helped kind of cover the cost there. I wish I could have brought you a return on your investment. But
it was good to be in there thinking, we have a chance.
Yeah. People have been asking me, would I play again? And my answer might surprise you. Probably not.
Right. I can understand that.
For several reasons. Some of it's the investment. Most players in a tournament lose their money, right?
Right,
You know, that's
right.
just the way that it goes. That's one of the lower concerns, though, but it is something.
Yeah.
Number 2 is the amount of time that it takes. Now,
That's a bigger concern.
yeah, I was fine that first day, going
Yeah.
the 12 hours or 11 hours or whatever it was. I'm pretty able to stay focused. So I think
Right.
I could do it over a 3-day event. I could never do the main event
No,
over those
not
series
if you
of
make
days.
the final table. You're there forever.
Yeah, no, I couldn't do it. I couldn't handle that. But that's the other thing. The third thing is kind of the mood at the table. And this is almost true of all poker tables. Poker players, you're playing against each other.
Right.
And even though everybody at my table was friendly, there's sort of a negativity to everything.
Right.
Like being mad at the way you played a hand or that somebody sucked out on you or just bad beat stories.
Right.
And again, even though everybody at my table was friendly, there was a lot of complaining, not just about poker, but other things, tournaments they'd been into, how it's, not being run well,
Right.
the
Right.
volume of the overhead speakers, and so, yeah, that just I'm kind of a positive person. So, it's a little hard to deal with the negativity.
Of all the games that where multiple players are involved, not like a slot machine where you're by yourself,
right.
but multiple players, I think Craps is the most friendly. I mean, this is just my opinion.
Okay.
Craps players seem to be more friendly. You do have every once in a while somebody who's a little off, but most of the time they're friendly.
Yeah.
And then maybe, roulette and baccarat kind of up there. Blackjack players can be terrible.
No, and we'll talk about that later.
Yeah,
Wait a
blackjack
second.
players can be terrible. But I think poker's the worst.
Could be just
Yeah.
because you can play perfectly and lose. It's
Right.
one of those things where
Right.
you can do everything right and the poker gods will not reward you.
Right, right.
So
That and just you're competitive against other people. When we're in our home group, we're giving each other a hard time, but we're not really mad.
yeah,
Because, they're our friends.
Yeah.
But when you're playing with strangers and everything and someone could get on your nerves, right? It's just I don't know. It's just not the friendliest of environments.
Right.
Let's say that.
another reason I'm just not really much of a tournament guy. I prefer a cash game.
right.
We're talking about the negativity, but I'll play poker in a casino if it's a cash game.
Right.
I like that because you could win, you could lose. If you run out of money,
you can walk away whenever you want.
right,
You're tired, you just color up or, whatever.
Yeah. So another reason, the novelty's gone, doing it the first time, right? I mean, that was a big part of it, being a part of it, seeing some of the famous poker players, that kind of thing. And lastly, Mike, you won't be there if I play again, probably. And that was a big part, having you there. I didn't realize it because originally I was just going to go whether you could make it or not.
Right.
But it was great having you there,
Oh, yeah. It's nice to have someone bring you stuff, too.
Right.
You just
bringing
text
me candy and stuff.
Bring me this or bring me that.
Yeah. So on that note, I might reconsider playing again. Adam Bauer, I think, on Twitter was the one who suggested that a bunch of us kind of meet up there and all play in one tournament together.
Yeah.
Like maybe the $500 buy-in, no limit hold'em. In that situation, when I'm with a group of people and we're kind of all sharing that experience,
that would be good.
then I might do it.
Right.
But I don't think I'd be going back just to play in this tournament in particular, just to do it again. So, yeah, we'll see.
Well, and you're not really a poker guy. I mean, you're good at poker. We played tons of poker over our life, but it's not your game, right? I mean,
I don't know if I can completely agree with you because, I mean, I do take it pretty seriously.
Right. No, not that being said. It's just that it's not the game that gives you the most enjoyment.
Okay. Yeah, sure. I guess I'll go with that. Yeah. I'd rather be like, when we were talking about playing this MIDI Baccarat, in Biloxi, right? I certainly had more fun with my friends there than I'd have playing poker maybe with my
strangers.
friends.
Yeah.
Even with my friends, right?
Yeah.
So.
Well, when I played in casinos on a poker table without anyone I know, just, against other people, it's not that much fun for me, really.
I understand, sure.
I mean, I'm competitive and I want to win and I'm paying attention, but after a while it's like, oh, this isn't that much fun.
Yeah,
it's like work.
Yeah. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, it's like work.
The fun that you get out of it is winning pots, obviously, and playing well. And maybe that isn't fun to you, right? Maybe it is like that is work.
That's
right?
like work. Yeah.
Overall, though, again, I have to say, fantastic experience playing in the WSOP.
It seemed very well organized.
I thought so.
From my standpoint, standing there and watching everything.
Yep.
It was fun. It was interesting.
Oh, and just the energy behind it, too. I love that. It was just a huge event, right? Everything going on. So, yeah, I definitely like that. So I was out that first day, so that means we had plenty of time to do other things in Las Vegas, such as gamble. So let's go through the list that I've got here, Mike. One of the first things we did when we woke up that first morning after I was eliminated, we walked by the Keno lounge.
Right.
And we kind of looked at each other like, Keno, it's here.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
There's a lounge for it, too.
That's right. And we decided, when we pass something like a Keno lounge, we need to say yes. We need to say yes to more things in our lives. So when there's a Keno lounge, yes, let's play Keno.
Let's play Keno. Why not? Well, I was talking to the lady who was there every morning, the morning shift she had. She was telling me that, we're pretty busy. I was asking her, about Keno. She said, we're pretty busy here because we're really the only lounge around. So we do get a lot of people just sitting here playing Keno during the day.
I'm trying to think of other places on the Strip, or in Vegas at all. That
I can't think of any.
Yeah, it's really, we've talked about how it's a dying game, but maybe they are getting all the Keno action on the Strip.
There's not a lot of a lounge there. There's it's small.
It's silly to call it a lounge, but
but it's fun. There were a lot of people throughout the day when I would go up to the room back and forth. I'd see people sitting there playing Keno.
And it was right by our bank of elevators.
Right.
So, we couldn't avoid it.
Oh, you have to walk right by it.
Right.
And the best thing is Keno, play overnight. You're sleeping and you've got gambling going on. So in essence, we never stopped gambling when we were there.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. We always had a live Keno ticket.
We always had a live Keno ticket going.
I played a couple overnight. Now I played 100 games overnight over the period of 2 nights. Of 4 spot. Right. And I won both of them. I think I cashed out for like 135 one night and 160 the next night.
Right.
Now you were kind of a because you just bet like $40 or something
20
like that.
once
right?
and 40 once. Yeah. And you know what? When we were leaving, I stopped and got one of the Keno booklets that has all the payouts and different bets you can make. And I've been studying that all week.
You have?
I was very disappointed in myself.
Yeah.
My Keno play was, I got a little bit back out of every ticket. $15, $16, stuff like that. But no big hits.
Oh, I won overall for Keno.
You won overall. Well, I'm up overall for my life for
All right,
Keno.
I'll give you that. You've hit a lot of zero spots or 20 spots, I guess, is what it is.
Right.
When you fill out
20 spots and I've got
That's
0.
Right, 20 spots and you get 0, right?
Yeah, I've hit a lot of those.
Yeah.
So I'm up overall, but my Keno play this trip was bad. Now, maybe it's health related. Maybe I'm just off my game.
Sure, that could be.
You beating me at Keno, I'm studying all week. The next time we go, I'm ready.
Okay, good. And who knows, Minnesota, I don't know if they've got any kind of Keno at any of the, some of the lotteries do too. I guess you could play those. All right.
Practicing up.
Practice for real Keno. I want to play real Keno. Yeah, that's a good bet. Let's talk about craps, of course, because we played a lot. One thing I noticed this trip, and maybe this is spreading throughout the country, almost all the craps tables we saw, the center action, the area with the center action, it was kind of indented, or there was like you could tell it was hollowed out below it so that the table wasn't level all the way across. I guess they've kind of incorporated that to prevent dice sliding.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. They had little bumps on the edges and then it kind of dipped down a little bit.
Yeah.
So it would be hard to slide dice over that.
Yeah. All the strip casinos we went to, all of them had at least one Crapless Craps.
Yeah, some places had 2.
Yeah. Every single one. I've never seen that before. We went downtown. Some of the downtown ones didn't have it, but every strip casino had Crapless Craps, and it makes me worried because I said on a recent episode, is this the 6 to 5 blackjack? Is this the 000 roulette? Right? Is this what's creeping in?
We'll have to search for a real craps table. It's like, we got to play Crapless Craps.
Yeah. We saw only one roll to win table while we were there. I'm trying to remember where it was, and I can't remember, Mike. But remember, it seemed like they were taking over. And it's like, this is the future. Right. But there have been so many scandals about it. Dice sliding. Recently here, there was an article about a dealer who was, intentionally putting in the wrong rolls so that people could win, so...
I'm thinking we saw it on the Strip, if I remember
think so
correctly.
Too. Yeah. But anyway, only one, the whole time, one roll to win.
We saw a lot of bubble craps.
Yes, plenty of bubble craps.
Plenty of bubble craps.
Not just the shoot to win, but also those individual bubble craps machines.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep, you had a good story about one of those.
Oh, yeah, this is kind of stupid. So Mike went up to the room to go get something. I thought, well, I'll play one of these individual machines.
Right.
And you know what I'll do? I'll put in $20 and I'll start betting. But then I've got a bunch of ones on me. I could just take them up to the cashier and have them changed, to some higher bills. But there was a big line. So I thought, well, I'm just going to keep feeding the machine ones, as I continue to play. Well, finally the machine.
Like some old lady from Nebraska who, gets to the casino once every 5 years.
Yeah, finally, I tilted the machine. Yeah, the hopper got too many bills in it.
Oh, once.
And so they're all, somebody had to come over and they couldn't fix it. And so finally, I had to wait there a while. Yeah. Finally, they had to walk away and then come back with cash to give me. They couldn't even cash out the machine. Right?
I'm sitting there. Why are we waiting? And then we had to wait for the guy to come over. He's probably thinking, yeah, some idiot crammed a bunch of ones in here.
He didn't know. Yeah. As far as he knew, I had just gotten to the machine and put in
he doesn't
20.
know it's you. He's just thinking some old lady crammed a bunch of ones in there.
Oh, my gosh. Well, we played at Caesar's Properties a lot, obviously, since we were staying at Bally's, and, they're all around that area. Almost every place had the fire bet and the all tall small.
Yes.
Pretty much every
all the
table.
Caesar's Properties.
Yeah, I think the only exception was on Crapless Craps, we saw the repeater.
Yeah, right. That one, several Crapless had
but
the repeater.
Otherwise, fire bet and the all tall small, every all tall small that we saw in Vegas had the lower payouts, the 30 to 1 and the 150 to 1, as opposed to the 34 to 1 and the 175 to 1. So that's too bad, but that's the way it is.
What could you do?
They have changed the payout on the fire bet at Caesar's Properties also to emphasize the 4 points hitting. So at Caesar's now, when you get 4 points, it pays 40 for one instead of 25 for one. And what they've done is they've taken some of the odds from the higher payouts. So the 5 points only pays 200 for one instead of 250 for one.
Well, I'm not thrilled about that for 5 and 6. I do like getting paid more on the 4, which you hit more of. But that 5, and the 5's not too bad. The 6 is one that bothered me.
The 6 they've dropped down to 500 for one.
Yeah, that's half of what it was before. Right. Yeah, that's a huge drop.
I understand that. I definitely prefer this situation for the reason you said, right? You're going to hit 4 a lot more.
Right.
However, under this new payout, the house edge is 23.9% instead of the 20.8% that the traditional payouts have. Now, they're both horrible, so I don't want to, make it sound like it's, an outrage or anything.
If you were playing every day, if you were a person who lived in Vegas, and we'll talk about a guy later who we met, but if you do live there every day and you were going, you would love that 4 payout, right? Because you're going to get a lot more of those. Yeah. As a person who's coming for a weekend, you're just hoping to hit 5 or 6, right?
Guess,
and get a big payoff.
Maybe.
I said to one guy who was standing next to me, it's only 500 to 1. And he said, you still get $5,000 for your $10 bet. And 10 was the max.
Right, yeah.
10 was the
true.
max.
10 was the max.
And I said, but you should be getting 10,000.
I don't know, Mike. I might argue the other way and say that, the guy who lives there
was hoping
to get more because he's eventually going to hit it, right? He goes so often. Eventually. Whereas the guy just from out of town, he's probably not going to hit the 6 while he's there, but he might hit a 4, right?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. He just seems to me I'm always hoping for the big one, right? I love it when 4 hits, of course,
right?
Because then you have a chance for 5 or 6.
Yeah.
But I'm always hoping for the 6.
Yeah. So that's Craps. We got another story about Craps coming in. We'll save towards the end here. Some funny things that happened. There was a light in our room, kind of by the desk. I brought my laptop so I could do some work while I was there, and I kind of like to have a light on next to it. We couldn't figure out how to turn this thing on. There was no switch. We thought it might be touch sensitive, like those ones where you just touch it and it turns on. We're looking everywhere.
Mark's looking all over. I'm laying on the bed, not feeling well, kind of nauseated, and I'm thinking to myself, he's an idiot. There's a switch on there. There's got to be a switch on a light.
Over, there was
and then I came over, I searched that thing over good, and I could not find a switch. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, what's going on? So I think you finally went back and lay down again, and I was kind of looking around. And, here, I found the problem, Mike. You just got to plug it in.
And the funny thing is, you plugged it in, and it came right on.
Yeah,
and then we're like, what the hell? You mean you turn it off? You got to unplug it?
That's the only way to turn it off? And of course, the final joke's on us. That turns out the outlet that it was plugged into was also tied to the switch right by the door.
By the door. So when you walk in the door, it turns on the light right above the door, and it turns on that light.
That light, which is on the far end of the room.
Right.
So we're thinking maybe like the previous people that were in there liked having that light on by the door, but then couldn't sleep with the light on, so they just unplugged it.
So they just unplugged it. That's probably what happened. But at first we were like, what the hell? I've never... You gotta plug them in.
We're idiots. That's the point of this story. We're just trying to let you know that we're idiots. Okay?
Well, I think at one point in a kind of a hazy mind I was in, I suggested, first thing you do is turn it off and on. Second thing you do is check and make sure it's plugged in.
That's right. That's good for any device.
Any device, right?
Yep. We did run into Spike from Two Morons Talking About Casinos and Stuff. Spike
he happened to be in the pit.
He happened to be there, and I asked him, hey, how come you haven't done an episode in a while? And he was kind of laughing and said, I guess he's putting in like a music studio or something in his house. And so that was a lot of it.
Spending all of his time working on that.
Right. And then plus Teabag doesn't work at the same property as him anymore, but it was good running into him. So watch for an episode from them. Who knows?
Coming up.
Several months, something like that. We did kind of take interest of a kid. I say kid, anytime we're dealing with somebody in their 20s, we're going to say
it's kid. Funny, everyone under like about 40, I say the kid.
It's right.
Like the old man.
So he was playing Don't Pass, and we were trying to figure out exactly his system because it looked like he was bagging with odds, but putting it in the wrong place. Finally, we realized what he was doing. He had, say, a $50 Don't Pass bet.
Right.
And if the point came up as 5, 6, 8, or 9, he would make a place bet for $50 on the point.
Right.
So in essence, what would happen is if a 7 was rolled, he'd win his Don't Pass and he'd lose the place bet for just no profit, no loss.
Right.
But if the point was rolled, he'd lose the Don't Pass bet, but he'd get the place payout for his place bet.
Right.
Right. So basically what he was hoping for when the point was 5, 6, 8, or 9 was for the player to actually make the point.
Right.
He'd win a little bit of money. Now, if the point was 4 or 10, he would back the Don't Pass with full odds.
He would lay full odds. Right. And then assuming that, 7's going to come up before a 4 or 10 is the point, and then he makes a big killing. If the point comes up, though, he takes the bath.
Yes, that's his worst scenario is when the point's 4 or 10 and it's made. Right. Also, he had to fade 7-11 on the come out roll, right? Of course. And then he would win on 2 and 3. Now, we thought, once we realized what he's doing, it's like, okay, not a bad system if you don't mind playing that way. It's sort of a slow burn. Well, kind of thing where you win a little, and then you can lose a lot on one, right?
And as we talked to him, he realized all that. Yeah. And he said, it's kind of boring, but you can play a long time.
Yeah.
And if things go your way, you can do pretty good.
Right.
A bunch of 4s are made as points and nobody makes them.
Right, yeah,
You're doing great.
Yeah. Well, as we were playing, it was very disciplined, seemed to be very disciplined initially. But then he lost a couple of bets, and it seemed like he went on tilt.
Yeah, a couple of 4s or 10s were made.
Yeah.
And he definitely went on tilt.
Because then suddenly he was making bets that he wouldn't before. Like he was suddenly placing the 6 and 8 when the point was 4, and it's like hoping for the... and so it's like, okay, he's not staying disciplined. Not that's a winning system, it's not. But generally when you're doing something like that, you don't want to second guess yourself and then turn out to be wrong, when you're making these extra bets. So
you kind of have to have a tough skin to play that.
Yeah.
Because, you put so much out there on a 4. He's taking full odds, too. It's not like he's taking half odds or something, or laying half odds.
Yeah.
He's laying full odds. And so, a couple of those come up, and all of a sudden your stack is devastated, right?
Yep.
And that's what happened to him. And then he kind of lost it. But I was intrigued. It's not a bad way to play.
Yeah, not too bad.
If you were going to be a person who went to the casino like every day.
Yeah, you do see a lot of don't players who maybe go every day, and they're generally conservative. Well, when I say conservative, some don't players like having their whole bankroll out there, at once on different numbers, and but yeah. Well, our friend Firebet Phil from Harrah, Southern California, met us in Vegas. He actually drove out the day after we arrived. So we spent a lot of time with him going to different places. One of the new places we went to was Resorts World, where neither you nor I had been to.
Right.
And we really liked that place, didn't we?
Yes, I liked it.
Very much. Now, obviously, we didn't tour the whole facility. We didn't stay there.
Right.
And I think a lot of people say, oh, yeah, it's very nice, but that's it.
Yeah.
Right? Like maybe it's cold, or it's just...
I didn't feel that way.
We really loved where the craps tables were located because right by this major thoroughfare of people walking by.
Right.
So it's great for people watching.
Yes. And there was lots of room there.
It
kind of reminded me a little bit of like Bellagio.
A little bit.
There's lots of room, but you can still see everything going on.
Yep. Definitely. Yeah. And it was a good crew too.
Yeah. Very good crew.
Yeah. So we had a good time there.
That was where one of the dealers was fairly young. I'd say like... mid-20s or late 20s.
Right.
And every girl that walked by, and there were quite a few.
I'd say every woman who walked by, okay, Mike? Every woman who walked by,
he would say something like, hi, or, nothing rude, just... He would make eye contact and say something to him.
Yeah, he wasn't, whistling it or anything.
No, he'd just say hi or, hey, welcome to Resorts or whatever. Anyway, at one point we're standing there and a woman walks by who's probably my age.
Yeah, probably your age, yeah.
Yeah. And he said something to her like, hi, how's it going? And she just stopped, stared at him and said, I could be your mother. All the younger women just kind of like looked and smiled and everything. She stopped and said, I could be your mother. And then she walked on and we turned to him and said, you should have just said, yeah.
So thumbs up to Resorts World.
Yeah, they were good crew.
Yeah, I agree, yeah. And, people have talked about, hey, parking at Resorts World, there's two places you can park, right? There's the self-parking that's, all, hey, park here. But then there's hotel parking. It's actually labeled hotel parking. That's very close to the hotel and casino. So park there if you can. You may have to drive a little further, depending on which direction you're coming from to get to that parking garage. But then it's much faster.
But that dumps you out right in the casino. Yeah. The guest parking structure, you've got a long
you got a walk outside. You got to walk outside to get to the casino. Right, yeah.
And Mark had dropped me off so I wouldn't have to walk so much.
Yeah.
And then we asked the valet attendant, and he said, don't park in that one over there. Just make a right up here and go around the other side and park in hotel parking. Yeah. So coming back, I even walked with you to the car. It was very...
and I got a great parking spot. It was right off the elevator there, too. So, and then we went downtown. You had not been to Circa. What did you think of Circa?
I liked Circa a lot, too.
Yeah, I knew you would. I thought you'd really enjoy playing there, yeah.
Where the craps table was, again, were excellent.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There was plenty of room around them.
Yep.
You weren't crowded up against a wall or anything. They were very nice. They had lots of tables open when we were there.
The Padres game was on. We watched it,
there was
right there.
Lots of TVs, lots of TVs. We were looking right into the sports book, so we could see the Padre game on the huge screen, and then off to the sides, there were smaller screens. We were watching it. Yeah, I thought that was very nice.
I figured you'd like it. Yeah,
I like Circa a lot.
Yeah, good.
I think it's, in my opinion, the best thing downtown.
Yeah. Well, we went over to Golden Gate real quick because we thought we might have some free play.
Well, you did, in fact.
I did. I had $75 in free play. Now, the way they do it for table games, it's like, okay, here's your $75 voucher.
Right.
You can't break it up into smaller pieces.
Yeah, you got to play it all at once.
Whatever. So I said, well, okay, let's just go to blackjack. I'll just play one-handed blackjack. So, I put 75 down. I wanted to make sure, was it okay to play here? And there was another guy. It was just one other guy at the table, and he said something like, oh, good, maybe this will change the luck of the table or whatever. So we get dealt our hands. The guy at the table, he got dealt a 20, so he's happy with that. I got dealt blackjack.
Nice.
And they did pay the 3-2.
Yes.
Even though it's, this free play voucher.
Right.
So that was nice. Turn that into, and they took the voucher. So really the value of the voucher was only half of $75, right? Since, was when
they take it.
So I got $112.50 out of that.
Nice.
So, not bad. We did end up going to Mohegan Sun, at the Virgin hotels. We were trying to figure out, where should we go that we hadn't been? We were thinking maybe should we go to Palms, but we thought, no, let's go to Mohegan Sun because that has really changed, right? Complete.
I'm kind of sad we didn't go to Palms because I did want to kind of go in there and see, but it's a little bit of a drive. Not that Virgin wasn't either, but we just never. We were winging things. We did not have anything planned.
So I'm glad we went there just to say we went there. But there's some funny things about Mohegan Sun. First of all, when you pull up, you see where the parking garage is, and you see where the entrance to like the hotel is, and you're thinking, "Oh my gosh, that's so far away."
Yeah, it looks like a half a mile walk or something.
So I drove to the entrance to the hotel,
right?
And I was thinking, well, maybe I should drop you off. And it's like, I thought maybe there'd be parking there.
I'm saying valet it or something. And then
I hate valeting. So
I know you do. And I'm saying valet because I'm thinking I'm not walking from that parking structure. But then
finally, we
just said, "Oh, go! Let's just go
park." Yeah. And
so you went around the corner. You pulled into the parking structure. You parked. Got a pretty decent spot.
It was okay. Yeah.
And then, as we're going down the elevator, I said, watch. We're either going to have to walk like a half a mile, or we're just going to dump us out into the casino.
Right.
And you said something like, we'll probably just dump us out, and there'll be the cashier and whatever.
Yeah.
Sure enough.
Dumped us out. There's the cashier.
We step out of the thing and you can immediately see the cashier. It's right there.
Yeah. So we got fooled by, where the casino actually was. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So we played at Mohegan Sun a lot. There's been a lot of talk about how dead it is. It was okay when we were there, on a Sunday night or something like that.
Yeah, it was kind of later.
I guess the table game area had a certain amount of clientele, but I can see where people were saying it was dead.
Yeah.
It was a weird experience playing.
A very weird
Sun,
experience,
right?
Yeah.
First of all, it was a lower table.
Yeah.
Didn't you notice that?
Oh,
right?
much lower. Much lower,
than normal. We got there, and Dr. Mike, you asked for a chair. The casinos have been very accommodating to you the whole time we were there.
All of them were very
It was
good.
just hard for you to stand for any amount of time.
Yeah, I couldn't stand for more than a few minutes, so they all brought me chairs.
Right. Yeah.
But when we went to Mohegan Sun, you buy in, I'm standing there. I said, "Can I get a chair?" No.
Yeah, it was like, our policy is, we don't have chairs.
The guy said, our policy is no chairs at the tables.
Okay. And
I said something like, well, I've got some issues and I took some medicine and I'm, okay, well, I'll see what I can do.
Yeah. So they ran it up the chain. Yeah. Eventually did get you a chair, but it was like this big, to do.
It's big to do to bring me a chair from an empty blackjack table that was a few feet away.
Right. Something else we found kind of strange. So we waited for the come out roll to buy in.
Yeah.
And we like to have good craps etiquette. So we throw our money down and they start taking it up. And the stick person sends the dice.
Right.
So the whole point to kind of buying in during the come out roll
is to slow
there's
the game
time,
down.
But no, she got the dice out. So, the come out roll was done before we even got our chips.
Right.
So I guess that's their policy. Don't stop the game when somebody's buying in.
Right.
Okay, that's fine, I guess.
Funny thing is, too, they didn't ask us for players' cards.
Not at all.
Or ID or anything. Nothing.
Especially with, Mike's buying in for, $2,000, something like that, and everybody else is playing with, nickels and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Nothing. You'd think you'd jump on you. And
right.
So, okay, fine. Whatever. We did have fun, though, because there were some kids in their 20s. Like three of them looked like maybe a married couple and then a friend playing
right.
again. They were learning the game.
Yeah.
And, they were drinking. They were having a lot of fun.
They were very fun.
They were great.
They were very friendly and nice. Yeah.
So we're teaching them the game and odds and this kind of thing. And so we had a very good time with them.
And they're actually picking it up.
Oh, yeah.
Too. They were a little tipsy, but they were picking it up quickly.
Definitely,
They knew what they were doing.
It was fun. They knew what they wanted to do. And
right.
We were kind of helping them out with the exact amounts, to get the bet.
Right.
At one point, one of them said, though, boy, blackjack players are real jerks.
Yeah.
They had come from some blackjack table
right.
where, somebody there didn't
probably
like
some guy giving them a hard time who was playing like first base.
Or something.
And they made some move on third base that maybe wasn't kosher or something.
And this gets back to what we were talking about and why a lot of people in this community don't like blackjack.
Right.
Like maybe they used to because of players giving you a hard time, being angry at the way you played because you took the dealer's bus card or whatever.
And verbalizing it.
Oh, yeah.
Not just sitting there and thinking, he shouldn't have done that. No, they're verbalizing it. Yeah.
So that's a shame because blackjack is a good game, but in reality, you get people on the table who it's just a negativity and it makes it no fun.
Funny thing is they're jovial and they're talking to us. They're complaining about blackjack players, and the dice get slid to the guy, and Mark said, "Now shut up and roll."
That's right. So we did have fun there, but it was one of those experiences where, we don't plan to go back to Mohegan Sun Casino.
No, I'd have no reason to go there.
No,
and it's just a weird vibe in there.
Yeah.
It was odd.
Yeah. We saw a lot of listeners while we were there. Birthday boy Andy, he just happened to be there that weekend, so he came down and played some craps with us at Bally's. Eric Anderson, who we see on many trips.
Yes.
He was there.
Yeah.
Poor Eric. He said he was having the worst trip of his life. He was
know.
between craps and slot machines.
Yeah,
so,
I felt bad for him because nothing was going.
yeah,
his
Eric.
way.
Hopefully,
I hope he hit something
improved
at the end,
after we saw you. Our friend Bill from Canada.
Yeah,
he met
Bill.
up with you, and in fact was
he played
at the WSOP. I came over and talked to you guys for a little bit.
Yeah, he found
played
us
some
there.
craps with you. This was kind of funny. We were downtown at Golden Gate, and I think you were off using the restroom, and Phil was at a craps table. And I went up to Phil and I said, Phil, after this, I think we're going to go down to the strip. And I'm just filling him in. I'm not playing or anything. And this guy next to me said, "Oh, hey, I just want to say I really enjoy your show." And I said, "Oh, hi." He said, "Yeah, my name's Brad. I recognize you from your voice."
Oh, wow.
So here's a situation where, okay, maybe Brad knew we were in town, but we certainly didn't say we were going downtown or the Golden Gate.
No.
And he just recognized my voice talking to Phil. And, I just want to tell you, I really, so that was.
And he was gone by the time I got back.
Yeah, he didn't get to meet him. But, it's such a bizarre experience, to hear that somebody recognized you by your voice, only.
Yeah, he recognized you, and he said, "I guess Dr. Mike's in the restroom." And I said, "Yep."
Yeah, that's always a good assumption.
Always a good
Brad.
assumption.
Nice to meet you. We also ran into listeners Trevor and Kim at Circa. Right. And I think they had been following us on Twitter, but we hadn't said we were going down
downtown,
there. Yeah. And just recognized you because of the photo I posted on Twitter of you buying your important breakfast items right there.
It's funny because they were staying on the strip.
Yeah, they just
came down to see Circa at the same time we came to see Circa.
So that was good, and they both had pretty good roles too, I think, right?
Yeah,
you kept track of them.
I kept track of their roles. I can read them off, but they had pretty good roles.
Yeah.
And then
how many times did he roll the dice off the table?
Trevor rolled the dice off 15 times.
15 times.
Yeah.
And then he wanted to make sure that if we mentioned that on the show, that you and I both immediately sevened out when the dice
when it came to us.
Hey, I don't know what it is about those Circa tables, but we also
threw them off a lot.
They bounce so much. I have never seen the dice go off the table as much as I have at Circa.
Yeah, they went off a lot. It was funny. He had a great roll.
Yeah.
It's just that in between all these great numbers coming up was these ones going off.
Yep.
And we were laughing about that.
Yeah. So you didn't see any nudity on this trip?
No, I did not. And it's unfortunate.
It is too bad. But I did.
Yeah, Mark saw nudity.
So I was walking, I think it was during one of my breaks during the WSOP, and I'm walking back, and a couple women are walking towards me in short dresses, obviously like getting ready to go to the club in short dresses. And one woman's dress just had hiked up just a little too high. She didn't have anything else on. She pulled it down, as she was walking. But I got my nudity for the trip, so
the trip.
I guess that counts.
Yeah, that definitely counts. You had to rub it in the whole time too.
That's right. We did have a few good meals too while we were there.
Yes.
We decided let's have a good meal while we were there. This might be kind of the last trip for you and me for a while. So we ate dinner at Gordon Ramsay's Steak, you, me, and Phil.
Right.
And it was nice. We went over just at 4:30. Let's see if we can get a table or a reservation. And they were able to seat us right away. That was great. Yes.
Yeah, they were great. She said, "Well, maybe I can seat you at the bar."
Yeah.
And we're thinking, okay, we'll sit there.
Fine, yeah.
But then you're not looking at each other, you're looking into the bar.
Right.
And then she came back and says, "No, I've got a table for you."
Yeah.
And she sat us at a really nice table.
It was terrific. And we all had a great meal. I had the beef Wellington, which I've never had before.
Right.
And it's like his specialty there. So that was excellent. You had a filet.
I had a filet. It was excellent. Yeah. It was actually more than I could eat.
Yeah.
I love that when I get more than I can eat.
Yeah. And Phil had a rack of lamb that he just was over the world about. So, excellent meal there. And then for lunch one day, you and I ate at Bobby's Burgers, which is like Bobby Flay Burgers. It's just on that stretch in Paris there. I thought it was funny. There was a bit of a line when we got there, and the guy in front of me, he's looking, and he turns to me to walk away.
Right.
And he said, $34 for a burger. That's crazy.
Right.
And he walked away, and I'm looking, I'm thinking, the ones, they were $14 burgers, which is expensive. It's too expensive either.
Right.
But the ones kind of looked like threes. If you were nearsighted, didn't have your glasses on, kind of. And so this guy saw $34 burgers. That's crazy.
The rest of his life, who would pay $34 for a burger?
He's going home telling. Meanwhile, we got, we moved up in the line person, so that helped.
They were okay.
They were fine. They weren't with the price. He puts one of the things is he puts potato chips on.
Right.
The
you
burgers.
had one with potato chips.
I had one with potato chips, and I liked it.
Yeah,
I
had
that.
the
I liked
barbecue
it on there,
burger.
Yeah,
and that was good too. I mean, the burger was fine. would I go there again?
No,
There was a line.
there was a line.
I wouldn't wait in that line again.
It was part of Caesars. We were able to,
use our
comp it. So,
rewards,
that's in that case, maybe if I'm looking for something relatively fast and I don't want to, walk over to the link or whatever, I might do it. Yeah.
I think the rest of our food consisted of snacks.
Oh, we got a lot of snacks from
and stuff like just quick sandwich here and there.
Yeah.
You ate a tuna fish sandwich at like 3 a.m.
Yeah, from the gift shop.
From the gift shop.
So, I took a chance. And I think it was the night before my tournament, too. So
You're a very lucky person. You're a very lucky person. And you didn't get sick at all. I was sick the whole trip.
Oh,
you were fine.
I felt so bad for you, Mike. Gosh. Oh, yeah.
I'm spending more time in the bathroom than actually in the casino. And you eat a tuna fish. Of all things, tuna fish.
I know. It's not like, turkey, okay, maybe. Yeah. Tuna fish, they've added a lot of... Is the mayo, has that gone bad? Is it really fish?
You should have just eaten raw pork. Right?
Take a chance. Hey, I'm a gambler. Yeah. All right, so let's get to the best part of the story. We were having a terrible trip. Talk about Eric. I mean, we were losing everywhere we played.
Right.
I don't think I had a winning session till maybe Sunday where I won like the $100 or something. I mean, it was bad.
Yeah, and Mark was funding me a little so I could play. Right. Yeah, that wasn't going good either.
So we were trying to decide what we should do. We figured, let's go somewhere else. And I said, well, let's go over to Bellagio.
Yes, that was your idea.
We like playing there. It's relatively close.
Right.
I didn't want to get in the car and have to go somewhere else. Let's go over there. So we went over, and at first we were going to play at this empty table, but it was crapless.
Yeah.
Crapless Craps right at the end there. All right, even at Bellagio. We got on this table, played for a little bit. I don't know, it was going okay. Didn't really like the vibe, and by vibe we meant like the people playing. Yeah. It was just they were kind of holding up the game. It's not like we think sevens are more likely to come. It was just we weren't enjoying it.
Yeah, we weren't enjoying it.
The crew was fine.
The crew was fine. Yeah. They're fast at Bellagio.
Oh my gosh, they were so good. They were so good.
They keep that game moving, and I love that.
The best dealers of the whole trip were at Bellagio.
Yeah, right.
Fantastic.
By far.
Yes. So we said, well, Mike, let's change. There was an empty one right behind us, so let's change tables here. So we got on this table. And it was going okay for a little while. I don't know.
Well, at the beginning, it was just you and I, and then 2 women came up and played.
Yeah.
So then a couple more people came. Yeah. When we left the table, it was full.
Yes. But as we're starting to play, this guy comes up to the table, and we're trying to size him up. And he's got some big money chips with him already.
Right.
Like, I don't know, Mike, $30,000?
Probably around
chips,
that.
Something like that.
Something like that.
And he had a water bottle with him, and he walked into the pit and put his water bottle like on their stand there, their pit stand. And we're thinking,
and I think it looked kind of like a bottle of whiskey.
It did kind of, yeah.
It wasn't shaped like a water bottle. It looked like a whiskey. And I'm thinking, and he's holding it like, he's some hobo who's been drinking whiskey.
Right.
And he wasn't dressed great.
No,
just very
but he had
casual.
so we're trying to think, okay, is he like an eccentric, rich guy or something?
Right.
And we watch him start to play, and he's playing with quarters. It was a $25 table. Right. He's making minimum bets.
He's betting like we were. Minimum bets.
Yeah, $30 on the 6 and 8.
And he's got $30,000 in front of him.
As we're continuing to play, we find out his name is Jeff. He's a regular.
He's a local. He lives there.
Right. And just a super nice guy.
Yeah.
Once we started, kind of talking to him.
He was great. And he told me he plays 4 days a week.
Yep.
And he comes in and plays for a few hours. If he hits it big, he goes home. If he loses, he may stay a little longer. Yep. But that's his routine.
Yep.
And they all knew him.
They all knew him. He bets for the dealers.
Right. He bets for the dealers.
And it just turns out he's a guy with a huge bankroll who plays the minimums at Bellagio because that's what he enjoys.
He plays like a low roller with a huge bankroll.
Yeah. So smart. Yeah. And he enjoyed himself. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
He'd have $5 on the hard way and it would hit and he's like, whoa. I mean, he was ecstatic.
Yeah. He was ecstatic when a $5 hard 8 hit and then he pressed it to 10. He didn't go leave it all, parlay the whole thing. No, he pressed it to 10.
So it was just so fun watching him play.
Yes, he was excellent.
And then you got the dice, my friend.
Yes.
What happened?
Well, I had the biggest roll I've ever had in my life.
He had the biggest roll at the end.
And,
Jeff said, in my 35 years of playing craps, that's the best roll I've ever seen.
It was bizarre. I rolled for an hour.
Yeah.
They're so fast. It would have been 2 hours in other places.
You and I talked about it. Once more people came to the table and there were so many chips on the table.
Right.
A lesser crew, it would have gone slowly. They were lightning fast. It was fantastic.
Yeah, the more bets came, it seemed like the faster they got. It was crazy.
Yeah.
I rolled so many hard ways. I can't believe
tons of hard ways. Now, you weren't on the hard ways.
I didn't bet any hard ways because I didn't have any bankroll, and I didn't want to waste my money there.
Yep.
I never bet a hard way that whole time. And
you rolled so many points. You definitely would have won the 6-point fire bet if they had it there. They did not.
Right.
All they had was the all tall small. Tell them about that.
Well, 4 times I got within hitting either the small or the tall by 1, right?
Right.
And sometimes it'd be like a 9 and a 4 or something, right?
Right.
And then I would make my point, whatever it was, and I'd 7 on the come out.
Yeah.
So it all goes away. And then I get the dice again. I establish a point. I roll all the way again until I 1 away on either side. And then make my point, 7 out. That happened.
Not 7 out.
I mean, not
7 on the
out,
come out.
7 on the come out.
Right, yes.
That happened 4 times.
Yes, it did.
Oh, I was so like, God, I can't hit that. You know, I just got $5 or $10 out there, but I'm thinking, just hit that once, right?
Yep.
No, I just kept rolling points and points and numbers like crazy. I think Jeff said he won like over 10,000 on my roll.
Yeah.
And he was just ecstatic.
Oh, yeah. And it got us back for the trip.
It got us back,
was, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
it was
I was
huge.
able to pay you all the money you had lent me and everything.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is I finally 7'd out. And the dealer turned to Mark and said, well, that's going to be hard to duplicate. And I said, I don't know. He's a better roller than me. And sure enough, tell him what happened.
I had a great roll. Now, it wasn't as good as yours.
It wasn't as long.
But I made a ton of points.
Right.
And I made them all.
You made them all.
One of the early in my roll.
Right.
Something
very
you
early.
couldn't do.
I mean, very early. It was like boom, 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 boom. Oh, we hit them all.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
and, after your big roll, I thought, I'm going to be aggressive. I'm going to go $25 pass line, continuous come bets with full odds.
Right.
And boy, what perfect timing, because I had a great
He had a great roll.
Yep. Back
and then after that, Jeff colored up and left, smiling big.
Yep.
Yeah, he made like another 10,000 on your roll.
Yeah. So, I don't believe in fate or kismet or, I'm not real romantic or poetry.
Yeah.
But it was so nice on a trip where maybe not our last Vegas trip, but certainly the last trip where we're going to travel to Vegas together. We drove together from San Diego.
We'll probably meet there.
In the future, maybe we'll meet there. But for our final trip to have that big a roll on the last night, it was the last night we were there, was sure sweet. So that was
nice. It
was
very nice. So we had a happy drive home.
Yes, it was very happy. Now, for all transparency, we did play a little bit after that.
Yeah.
So I think it was ultimately losing trips for both of us, even with that great roll. It tells you how stuck we were, to begin with. But that was really
But it wasn't
something.
much.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
That was the least of our worries, really.
So a fantastic trip, again, for kind of our last trip, at least, going together. So that was great.
Yeah, we didn't have any really bad experiences anywhere.
No.
And I'm going to say that Virgin wasn't that bad.
No, it's just that
it's just kind of
after
weird.
we played there for a while, it's like, let's go back to Bally's. Yeah, we're done.
But we didn't have any bad. I saw several people from Harrah's Rincon there.
Yeah.
Not going to name people, but there was quite a few people we knew from Rincon.
The only bad dealer that we had was at Flamingo. You know who I'm talking about? I don't know. She was just in a bad mood that day. She wasn't terrible, but
no, she wasn't terrible. She was just like not in a good mood.
Didn't thank me for a tip, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just
was kind of surly.
Yeah,
a little bit.
So other than that,
other than that, everyone was good.
It was terrific. Anything else you can think of for this trip, Mike?
Well, you were playing poker. Phil and I walked around a bit and we went into Cromwell. We didn't play or anything. We were just walking through, cutting through there basically. Yeah. And they had moved all the craps tables from the front area by the strip to the back of the casino by the cage.
Oh, that's too bad.
So there's no tables up front there anymore. And they used to have 3 tables up there and 1 in the back, so 4 total tables.
Yeah.
Now it's all in the back, and they only had 3 tables.
That's too bad. I liked having those tables there by the strip.
Yeah. It was
there with
very
the
nice.
Yeah.
Well, there's more room there too. In the back, it was a little more crowded.
Yeah.
So that was one thing we did when you weren't there. We walked around a little bit to different places. They also moved the craps tables at Paris.
Yeah, right.
So they were
saw
on
that.
one side of the cage, like kind of by the front of where the cage is.
Right.
And now they're behind the cage in another area that doesn't get a lot of traffic.
Yeah, and I didn't like playing there, Mike. We played there a little bit. I'll be honest with you. I don't know what it is. It's the atmosphere.
It's the atmosphere or something. I don't really care for that either. Phil said the same thing.
Yeah.
He said a lot of times he didn't like playing there.
Yeah. Anyway, good trip. Mike, tell us about your moving here soon, within a week.
Within 5 days.
Your plans and how are you feeling? And
not feeling so well.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I take my chemo stuff on Saturdays, so
and just
Sunday, Monday, Tuesday are kind of rough days.
So people know it is chemotherapy. It is not because of cancer. It just helps kind of suppress your immune system so that
the steroids will work better on curing me.
But I mean, chemo. It's nasty stuff. And it knocks you out. Yeah.
I'll tell you what. I always felt bad for patients over the years who were on chemo and stuff. Yeah. And now I have a whole new perspective. Yeah. It's terrible.
Yeah.
It is absolutely terrible. Yeah. It's something hell to go through. Yeah. So it's funny because we're leaving on a Saturday morning to drive, and that's the day I'm going to take my chemo. I'll be sick for the first 3 days of that trip, which ought to be fun in the car.
You're leaving this Saturday. You're going to take your time making your way to Minnesota, right? We're short driving days.
Short driving days, 4 hours, and to stop a lot and stuff like that. Just for two reasons. One, me, and two, it's just kind of nice to not have to wear yourself out driving.
Sure, it's a stressful situation anyway, moving. So
and so we're taking our time, and then we'll get back there in about 5 days.
Okay.
Instead of 2.5.
Okay, and you're going to be staying with your mother-in-law initially while you look for a house or something like that.
Yeah. So I don't know. We may take a few months.
Sure.
Who knows how that's going to go?
Okay. All right.
But we're going to stay with her initially.
Okay.
And that's going to be it. We're going to be in a little tiny small town.
Yeah. No
traffic. One stoplight in the whole town, which I actually ran.
Wow.
Without even knowing they put it in. We were there one summer, and then the next summer, I didn't know there was a stoplight there. I ran right through it.
Oh, funny. All right. Well, best of luck to you. And we will try to get an episode out here in 2 weeks. We'll see. It depends on where you're set up.
We get there that Friday, and then hopefully by Sunday, I'll be all set up.
If you're up for it. If
it's not Sunday, it'll be Monday or Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be.
We'll arrange something.
Yeah.
So, Well, very good. Best of luck on your trip.
Thank
Safe
you.
travels.
Yeah.
I want to say one thing before we end here. So there are many ways that you can get a hold of us. One way is to just go through our website. There's a contact us button, and you actually fill out a form, and we get an email. And I've left it up there because, if people don't know our email or just, it's an easy way to contact us. One thing, though, is you have to put in your own email address into the form so that we can respond to you. And if you type that in wrong, it might be harder for us to respond. And in fact, that happened twice within the last week here. In one case, it was a real obvious typo, and I was able to figure out what the real email address was and respond. In another case, it was from somebody named King. He wrote, "Hey guys, heading to Vegas June 15th through the 19th for 10-year anniversary. Here's a karma donation on the hard 6. If it hits, I'll parlay at once. My wife Denise and I listened to you on the way to the casino. Wish us luck." Great. So good luck on that. I tried to respond with the email address that he gave, and it just kicked back. And I tried a couple of other combinations, and it just didn't work. So, King, I wanted to let you know that we did get your message, and thank you very much for the bet that you're going to make. And if you want to contact us, just write us back at youcanbetonThat@gmail.com. When you email us directly, obviously we get, your correct email address and we can respond. So,
by the way, my email is going to change.
Oh, it is? Oh, okay.
So
all right.
I'll give you the new one.
Okay, I'll give you, So, and make sure you contact any listeners. A lot of listeners have been reaching out to you.
Right.
To find out, where you're going to be and maybe meeting up in Minnesota because there are a lot of people who live in that area.
Right, and I'll probably just give that out on one of the podcasts as soon as I know
your email,
your
new email. Okay, that's good.
I'll have plenty of time to answer emails, Mark.
Yeah, that's great.
I'll be just sitting there answering emails all day.
And again, we got a lot of phone calls. We will hit them on our next episode. Right. Hey, we want to thank some people for some recurring donations. Jeremy at the Color Up YouTube channel. James, Kurt, Robin from Anytime Gambling, and Nathan. Thank you very much for those recurring donations. We also got a donation from Tim. May trip for my wife's birthday and last stay at the Mirage. Yeah, because the Mirage is being taken over by the Hard Rock. Great podcast every week, and go Chargers. Oh, a little something for
Nice.
you there, Mike.
Yeah,
Even though
there you go.
you actually claimed on one of these episodes that you were no longer a Chargers fan. You clearly still are.
Yeah.
Shame on you.
Yeah, anyone who knows. I want to keep the peace by saying I'm not a Charger fan. Deep down inside, I'm always bleeding, what is it, baby blue?
Yeah, right. Baby blue. Powder baby
Powder
blue.
baby
That's
blue,
right. Well, you're going to be a Vikings fan now, right? Or
I've
you
always
were.
been a
All right,
Vikings fan,
Okay,
yeah.
very good. Also, a donation from Billy, heading to Vegas with a couple friends for 4 nights. Going to eat, drink, and see some AEW wrestling. Oh, fun. Oh, I hope you
Yeah.
have a good time. Thank you guys for the podcast.
Have you seen that, by the way, the wrestling where they review WWE Legends of the Past and they talk about their lives?
A TV
It's like
show?
it's like kind of like a documentary TV show.
Oh, I haven't seen it, no.
And they do it like once a week with a different wrestler
Oh,
from
fun.
the past.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'll
it gives you a lot of insight into wrestling.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of like how their lives are.
Sure.
It's rough.
Oh, yeah. You can say what you want about wrestling.
Yeah, and they all say they're entertainers.
Yeah, right,
they'll tell
sure,
you
of
right
course.
up front.
Yeah.
They're entertainers, but it's rough.
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We also got a donation from Todd Goddess. Karma donation for a 360 Vegas vacation 11 trip. That's going on right now.
Nice.
Good luck to everyone who's at
Yeah.
360 Vegas vacation 11. And he says, thanks for all you do to keep us entertained. Well, thank you, Todd. Also, a donation from Richard from the UK. He did not provide any kind of message, but thank you, Richard. We
Thank you.
appreciate that. And finally, a donation from Chris from Round Rock, Texas. Wish me luck at the Vegas Craps tables. I taught some friends how to play, and they can't wait. Fun.
Nice.
It's always good to get some new players at the table.
Hey, that's the key. Take a newbie.
Yes.
You always win,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's a selfish
It's
thing.
guaranteed.
Yeah, guaranteed.
Hey, be sure to check out our TV listing showing all the gambling-related shows coming up within the next 2 weeks at youcanbetonthat.com/TV-listings and our list of gambling-related movies at youcanbetonthat.com/movies. We'd love to hear from you. Call our voicemail hotline at 951-292-4377. That's 9512-WAGERS.
9512 wagers.
Or you can email us at youcanbetonthat@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at youcanbetonthat and on Facebook at facebook.com/youcanbetonthat. Finally, please go to your favorite podcast app and write a review of the show. We love getting your feedback. Well, Mike, this may be the last show that we do together in the same room.
Yeah,
there may be.
there's going to be a few where we're together.
When you come out,
Yes,
yeah, you know,
yeah.
you're going to be your family.
Well, definitely
is still
coming
here.
in September for
Okay,
a week or
sure.
so. So we'll
All
try
right.
and do one there because we'll probably go out to RenCon or something,
Right,
and we'll
right.
have some stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You never know. I mean, with
Yeah.
scheduling everything.
Right.
But from this point on, it's going to be more of a remote thing. So,
Right.
you know,
Yeah, but-
bittersweet in that respect.
Yeah,
but
we'll have a lot to talk about still.
Yeah. Oh, definitely,
I'll be
yeah.
texting you, complaining, or
Yep.
or building up the Padres all season long.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Who are, by the way, doing very well.
Very well. Only a
Yeah.
half game out of first place.
place,
So,
yeah,
we're very
yeah.
happy about that.
Yeah, hopefully it'll keep up. I mean, everyone who knows I'm a big Padre fan keeps telling me, "Oh yeah, they're gonna, at the end they'll just
Oh, and
fall
we're
apart."
ready for that,
Yeah,
too.
Yeah, and I'm saying, yeah, I know that, but I can be happy now,
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it was nice. Our last night at RenCon this week.
Yes.
We went up there, got our free play, played a little bit,
Yeah.
and it went pretty well.
That was actually
And-
a lot of fun. That
Yeah,
last
it was
night, I brought every single one of my TV show T-shirts,
Right.
And I changed every half hour into a new shirt.
What was funny is when Jeremy came, we had been there a while, and you'd already changed several times, but he just came on shift. And so he was there, and you went and changed, and he looked at you and he said, "Did you just have a different shirt on?" And you were like, what?
I don't know what you're talking about,
what
Jeremy.
You're talking about.
Yeah,
he just looked like, what the
You're
hell?
hallucinating or something. So I did that all night long. Silly thing,
yeah.
but that was.
It was funny. I'm thinking the camera, like going into the restroom, sees this guy all night go in the restroom with one shirt and come out with another. And they're thinking, what the hell is going on here?
And a lot of the dealers and staff and everything said goodbye to you. So
they
that
all
was
shook
nice.
my hands
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah.
That was very nice. Yeah. Well, they're a great.
Yeah,
group,
it's been a lot of
really.
fun going up there.
Yeah, and you'll still go occasionally.
Oh, yeah, sure,
Yeah,
yeah. Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, for
we'll,
sure.
yeah, and we'll still stay current. So Wendy, don't worry, we're coming back.
Yep. All right. Thanks for listening.
Good night.
Mike, Mark, that was wonderful. I had no idea you were so talented. The audience is going to love you.